There is a currency in business that never appears on a balance sheet. It doesn't show up in quarterly reports. It can't be acquired in a leveraged buyout. Crestline Capital Group learned that the hard way.
This is the story of Cal Briggs and the $240 million handshake deal they threw in the trash. The Bureau has opened the case file.
This is Case File 002, the Handshake Agreement. Cal Briggs wasn't the most popular person at Harwick Distribution. He wasn't giving speeches at quarterly all-hands meetings. He wasn't angling for a corner office. But Cal Briggs was the guy who knew every customer by first name. 14 years of early mornings, late calls, and handshakes. That meant something to him. 12 core suppliers, 40 years of combined relationships, $240 million in annual agreements. No contracts, just his word. In an industry built on margins and deadlines, Cal Briggs was the reason Harwick's trucks were never empty and their shelves were never bare. He was also, as Crestline Capital Group would soon classify him, redundant overhead. Crestline Capital Group acquired Harwick Distribution on a Thursday in October. By the following Tuesday, they had already identified $4.2 million in what their slide deck called operational inefficiencies. Cal Briggs was line item number 7. To be fair, on paper, Cal made sense to cut. No formal agreements under management, no proprietary software, no certifications, no MBA. Just a desk, a phone, and 14 years of relationships that Crestline's analysts had no framework to value. So they didn't. Instead, they brought in Gavin Price, Crestline's preferred consultant, $340 an hour with a 25-hour minimum. Gavin had restructured supply chains for 3 companies in the past 2 years. All 3 were still recovering. But Gavin had something Cal didn't: a very good PowerPoint. Crestline loved a good PowerPoint. Gavin Price introduced himself to Cal on his first Monday at Harwick. The conversation lasted 58 seconds. "So you're the vendor guy. Great. I'm going to need a full audit of every supplier relationship by end of week. Pricing, terms, performance metrics, all of it." Most of those relationships don't have formal agreements. They run on trust and history. An audit won't capture that. "Everything has paperwork. We just haven't found it yet." Cal nodded. He didn't argue. He had been around long enough to know when a conversation was already over. What he didn't know yet was that so was his job. Gavin spent his first 2 weeks at Harwick doing what consultants do best: generating paper. 17 new vendor evaluation forms, a 12-step supplier scorecard system, a color-coded performance dashboard that took 3 people 2 weeks to build and nobody ever looked at again. Cal watched all of it quietly. He answered Gavin's questions, attended his meetings, filled out his forms, and said nothing. Week 3 is when Gavin made his first call. Donnie Ferris, owner of Ferris Regional Freight, 22-year relationship with Harwick, no contracts, just a handshake and a track record worth more than any paper agreement. "Mr. Ferris, Gavin Price here, Crestline's consulting partner at Harwick. I've been reviewing your pricing, and frankly, you're running about 12% below market rate. We think that's leaving money on the table for you, but we need to renegotiate these terms going forward." Donnie Ferris had been doing business with Harwick since before Gavin Price had graduated high school. "I'll have to think about that." Donnie Ferris did not call back. Gavin made 4 more calls that week. 3 of them went the same way. Gavin called it progress. The Bureau calls it something else. The termination came on a Friday, 4:47 p.m. A mass email, 17 names in the CC line. Cal read it twice, set his phone face down on his desk, and sat very still for a moment. 14 years. He didn't reply to the email, didn't call HR, didn't call a lawyer. He cleaned out his desk, shook hands with the people who mattered, and walked out of Harwick Distribution for the last time. Gavin Price watched him leave from across the floor, already on his second cup of coffee, already rewriting the PowerPoint presentation. He had no idea what he was looking at. None of them did. Cal Briggs spent that Friday evening doing something Gavin Price would never understand. Nothing. He didn't update his LinkedIn, didn't call a headhunter, didn't draft an angry email he'd never send. He made dinner, watched a game, went to bed. His phone rang 11 times that weekend. He didn't answer any of them. Not because he was upset, because he already knew what they were going to say. He just wasn't ready to have that conversation yet. Monday was soon enough. Cal's phone started ringing at 7:14 Monday morning. Donnie Ferris, first call. Cal, what the hell happened? That Price guy called me last week trying to bump my rates. I told him I'd think about it. I've thought about it. Where do you want me to send the new agreements? Cal took a breath. Donnie, I appreciate that. Give me a few days. The second call came at 7:41. Then a third. A fourth. By 9 a.m., Cal had heard from 8 of his 12 core suppliers. All of them asking the same question. Where do you want us to send the new agreements? Cal sat at his kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a legal pad, and started making a list. Not of grievances, not of everything Harwick had done wrong. A business plan. Harwick Distribution supply chain began showing stress in week 5. 3 suppliers had gone quiet. 2 more were suddenly unavailable for their regular order windows. Gavin Price sent a strongly worded email. It was ignored. By week 8, Harwick was running emergency sourcing on 4 product lines, at a 40% cost premium. Gavin presented a new slide deck. It had a lot of charts. None of them pointed up. Crestline Capital Group called an emergency operations review in week 10. 3 hours in a glass conference room, 12 people around a table. One question nobody wanted to ask out loud. Where did the vendors go? Someone finally said Cal Briggs's name. The room got very quiet. Gavin Price pretended to quietly check his phone. Harwick's new VP of Operations called Cal on a Tuesday morning in December, 10 weeks after the termination email. Cal, this is Derek Vance over at Harwick. I know this call is probably unexpected. We've been going through some transition challenges on the vendor side, and we were hoping you might be open to a conversation about coming back on in a consulting capacity. Cal listened to the whole thing. Every word. I appreciate the call, Derek. I do. But I've actually just signed my first client agreement this week. I'm not really available. Cal, we're prepared to be very competitive on rate. Whatever you were making, we can... Derek, I wish you all the best. I really do. Take care of yourself. Cal ended the call, set his phone down, and went back to his legal pad. He had 11 more supplier calls to return. Harwick Distribution's Q4 numbers came in at 31% below projection. Crestline Capital Group's investment committee was not pleased. Gavin Price's contract was not renewed. The official reason was budget realignment. The unofficial reason was sitting in Cal Briggs' kitchen signing his 3rd client agreement of the month. Cal never made a single call to hurt Harwick, never contacted their suppliers to poison the well, never said a bad word about the company publicly or privately. He didn't have to. Trust doesn't transfer on an org chart. It doesn't come with the building or the brand or the PowerPoint. It walks out the door with the person who built it. Harwick Distribution learned that. Crestline Capital Group learned that. Gavin Price is currently restructuring a mid-sized paper distributor in the Midwest. Early reports suggest it's going well. The Bureau will be watching.
Cal Briggs didn't set out to destroy anything. He set out to do his job. For 14 years, he did exactly that. The lesson here isn't about revenge. It isn't about leverage or legal clauses or dramatic last moves. It's simpler than that. When you build something real, when you build it on trust and consistency and showing up every single day, it belongs to you. No acquisition changes that. No consultant can audit it away. Cal Briggs didn't take anything when he left Harwick Distribution. He didn't have to. Everything that mattered was already in his phone. This has been Case File 2, the Handshake Agreement. The Bureau remains open because justice doesn't clock out.